What is up, everybody? On today's podcast, obviously today, about 3 or 4 hours ago, the Kyrie Irving news came out. We're going to be talking about that. We're talking about James Harden. You know, I've shit on him in the past, but I believe he's actually become underrated at this point. The roller coaster of James Harden's career through the media's eyes is kind of crazy. We'll get into that. And, you know, I'll talk about some all-star snubs. And once again, my Bucks and Heat stuff is just its own videos on YouTube. I'll have those up. I'll talk about some deficits the Heat have, and I'll have a trade deadline podcast come out when all the trades are done. See what the really good moves are, because I think this Kyrie Irving trade has unlocked the league. Because when the superstars are up for grabs, everybody calls. Everybody's looking at what the compensation was to get a deal done. And there you have it. So that's going to be the podcast today. Let's get into it, man. Oh, baby. Oh, baby. I am who I am. My name is my name. And welcome into episode 91, 90, whatever it is supposed to be, the episode of Shooting the Shit with Sands. All right. I am recording this at 1 a.m. I just, this is what I signed up for with content, and I'm not a perfectionist with anything else in my life other than talking about sports. And I know that is so stupid of me. There's so much more important things going on. Okay, but so many more important things. My dad would correct me on that. Childhood trauma right there at the top. There's so many more important things, but I went through when I was editing and I was like, man, this could be way better. I could have gone way more into detail on the Nets fallout and how the catastrophe of the Nets project that just went down, and how they're going to end up being nothing. So I'll get into that in a second, but we're going to talk about the Mavericks stuff first. So Dorian Finney-Smith, Spencer Dinwiddie, a first-round draft pick in 2029, so a middle schooler, shout out Chris Hansen, and a second-rounder. Try not to laugh at my own jokes, very bad, and that joke wasn't that funny, so I got to move on. For Kyrie Irving, that's what they traded for. And don't let this influence your mind on what the trade value is for another superstar. It has nothing to do with that. You got to think about the extension that he wanted didn't go through. The trade was almost inevitable, or they let him leave for nothing, which you can't let happen in this NBA, and it's going to happen. I don't know if it is going to happen, but it's just this ultimatum that the franchises are now in purgatory to, man. Like, if your superstar gets fucking mad, you're trapped. You're trapped in this James Harden world where they give up playing basketball for like a week span till they're traded, or they're just going to take a max contract, then be like, oh yeah, I'm mad now, trade me. That's what they're going to do. And I don't like it, but that's just the new era we're in. Like with Harden, but like I just said, this Kyrie situation is a little different, but not really, and I'll get into that in a second. And then even like a guy like Trey, if we're not a contender, I'm fucking out of here. So he's like projecting, well, we got to get better or else. I don't like my coach. Let's see what happens. I'm asking for a trade. That's ridiculous, but it's just the times we're in. So the one thing on Kyrie, before I get into the good on-court stuff, guys, I got to be realistic. If this was a trade that happened to my team, for imagining Kyrie on the court with the Miami Heat, I would spam ring emojis in the group chat. I would. I really would. But then I would kind of sit back and go, oh, shit. We committed to a guy that just is unreliable. And if you think that this is the place where it's going to change, I would go to my dad saying, yo, a dude that's immature at 20 is going to be immature at 30. And he's going to be immature at 40 and 50 and 60 until he's fucking dead. And that's not saying Kyrie's immature. It's that you get stuck in your ways. He was excited when LeBron came. Ended up saying he was the enemy. He wanted to be the guy, moved on. He moved on to the Celtics team where he was the guy. Ended up not having any playoff success. I believe one playoff series there with a young core. Said he was ecstatic to be there. He goes and gets with his best friend, apparently, with Kevin Durant, was ecstatic about that. And then now he's ecstatic about playing with Luka. He left his best friend, but he's cool with playing with Luka, and now it's going to change. I would say that's an unreasonable expectation. Wouldn't you? I would say that's a crazy expectation to have. And he's just unreliable. All right? If you're just going on court, which is what we need to talk about here, this isn't some political, issue podcast that I'm trying to promote. This is what you're getting with Kyrie, and you should know, right? Like, we know what Kyrie Irving is, but just for reference, his last 7 games, 35, 7, and 7. For the season, 27, 5, and 5 on 49% shooting from the field and 37% from 3. He's played 40 games, which is all you can ask for. He's been reliable on the court this year. And I just want to get a couple things out the way while I talk about this. Dude, the people who say this isn't a fit, it's not a fit. How does he fit with that? There's only one ball. Okay, there was only one ball in Golden State. There's only one ball when the Celtics won a title with Paul Pierce, KG, and Ray Allen and Rondo. There was only one ball with Kyrie and LeBron. There was only one ball with James Harden and Chris Paul. And the fit thing, it's like they said that about Anthony Davis and LeBron too. It doesn't fit. LeBron's never played with an elite post player. Okay. He's played with elite players before though. Right? Kind of worked. Got him 3 rings. Hate to tell you, he got his 4th with AD. I hate to tell you, it kind of works. That take has to be dead at some point. And when it comes down to it, the reason it works is because playoffs come down to shot makers. And what do the Mavericks have now? In the 4th quarter of a playoff game, I probably got a list of 6 people I want with the ball in their hands to make me one shot. One shot. And on the short list is KD, Luka, Kyrie. All right? I'm just using words associated with Kyrie. I have LeBron at number 1, right? And that's what playoff basketball is about. So all this team camaraderie bullshit kind of goes out the window. Yes, you do need your role players to hit their shots. Yes, you do have to have some decent defense, even though I would push back on that. And I know these teams haven't had playoff success, mostly the Kings. The Kings are the 3rd best offense in basketball right now. They're the number 3 seed. They're 20th in defensive efficiency. The Nuggets are the number 1 seed in the West. They're 1st in offensive efficiency. They're 21st in defensive efficiency. And I know they haven't had playoff success. I'm just pushing back a little bit on that. Because, yes, you have to have good defense, but sometimes that shit doesn't matter. What defense could the Suns play on Luka that would have mattered? Please tell me. I have to know. I would love to see your game plan for that. I would have loved to see your game plan for LeBron and Kyrie in Game 5 of the 2016 Finals, of course. I would love to see your defense for that. Give me it. Go ahead. You want a double one? Somebody's open. You want to overhelp? They're too good at passing. They're going to find the open guy. I don't know what to tell you. So that's the funny part. That it isn't a fit has to die out very quickly. I would say, am I naive? I would ask, am I naive for thinking this? Am I crazy to say that Luka's gravitational pull of the defense could be insane off ball? Because you can assume Luka can't play off ball. I think that would be naive of you. Because we thought LeBron couldn't play off ball because he had to be a heliocentric player. That's what the nerds call it. I say isocentric. Same shit. Okay? I put it in air quotes. I don't know why. But those heliocentric players always look like they don't know how to play off ball until they're forced to. Until they have to. And now you see LeBron. He's really not as ball dominant as he was early in his career. He's not at all. He can post up. He can catch and shoot. He does a lot of different things. He can be a roller, the pick guy. It doesn't matter. Because those guys with that high basketball IQ are going to find a way to exploit the defense either way. And if you think Luka ain't up there with that or Kyrie, you're nuts. All right? I have not seen Luka shoot an open catch and shoot three in the fucking last 2 years that I've been watching him probably 50 games a year. I have not seen him just catch and shoot. I've never seen it. I bet he gets those opportunities with Kyrie and him on the floor at the same time. And if he doesn't, then you're letting somebody, I don't care who it is in the world, guard Kyrie one-on-one. That's what you're doing. Or just run a pick and roll with no weak side help. If you're just trying to stay attached to Luka. And am I crazy for thinking Luka, instead of having to dribble for fucking 20 seconds to get to a spot in the post, he can just go down there and post up? Am I crazy for thinking that? I don't think I am. Because I've seen other great players do it. So before we start talking about how is Luka good off ball, how about we go just, oh, he is an all-time great player. I think he'll be able to adjust. I'm pretty sure he'll be able to adjust to that. That's all I'm saying, man. That's all I'm saying. But I was looking at the Mavericks rotation, and I kind of went, huh. And they may not be done doing moves. I think they have a couple more picks to trade, if I'm not wrong, 2 first, I believe. I start looking and I go, God damn. They're small as fuck. I was like, fuck, they're little. You know, you got JaVale McGee down there. I don't know where he fits into this team. I think we're going to see Josh Green full-time. That has to be your best defender on the floor. That's the other thing, that individual defenders can be negated by great team defense. There's only so much you can do, but as long as you're not giving up 150 a night, I don't think they're going to have a problem. Because I'll tell you this, before I get into the rotation, greatness always trumps camaraderie. That's the best way I can put it. Individual greatness will always trump a great team most of the time, unless it's the 2016-17 Warriors, 51 points in the game one. I think it was 51-8-8. He lost. Let me give LeBron a cop-out, please. That was an 18, though. I know. That was in the 18 finals. I'm just saying. And then you have 2 of those guys that can do that on the floor at the same time. You know, I don't know what to tell you. Good luck. Once again, good luck. I think that with those 2 guys on the floor, you are in every game. You can outscore anybody. Period. I know I'm just repeating myself, but I have to get that point across. Quit asking questions and let's see what happens. Now let's go with this rotation. What is your closing lineup? Because to me, you can't judge a team off of 20 games, right? You just can't. So, and that's what these guys are going to have together. But what is your closing lineup? Because I think that's where you see, in the fourth quarter is where you see like what you're going to do in the playoffs for the rest of the season, really, is your closing lineup. Is it going to be Luka, Josh Green, Kyrie, Bullock and Wood, Dwight Powell and Wood, Kleber and Christian Wood? Where does THJ fit into all this? You know what I mean? I don't know the finishing lineup there, but I know we're going to get a lot of Josh Green, and maybe they see something in him because he isn't a bad player. I feel like maybe they're not. I'm not saying they had Josh Green in mind when they were trading for Kyrie Irving, but maybe they just thought, all right, if we lose Dorian Finney-Smith, you know, we got Josh Green, who's been playing okay. It's not like Josh Green is terrible. I don't think he's like some amazing young player, but I don't think he's bad either. Freak athlete. But I just don't see where that goes. But yeah, I would not sit here and try to question this duo before it even starts playing together. That's insanity. So let's get to the Nets side of things. My biggest headline from this is, where the fuck does KD go? He just asked out in August, I believe it was July, August, maybe it was July 4th, I don't know. He just asked out. And it was kind of on the basis that they weren't going to extend Kyrie and that he wasn't going to be there if Kyrie wasn't there. And he already made that comment about the roster on the floor. I believe it was him saying, like, this is who the fuck we got out here. How the fuck we going to win a championship? You know, without Harden and Kyrie out there. He said that. And now he doesn't have both of them. And now their rotation is Ben Simmons, Patty Mills, Watanabe, KD, Nick Claxton, Seth Curry, Dorian Finney-Smith, Spencer Dinwiddie, Royce O'Neal. Ugh. What the fuck do you do with that? There's no win here for the Nets. I don't see them just flipping that. I think they are on the clock to get the best deal for Kevin Durant. And let's just, like I said, I want to expand on this. So you have a franchise that sold out twice in a decade, right? For a championship and didn't even reach a conference finals. The Paul Pierce trade, Kevin Garnett, they go and get those guys. Doesn't work out. Heat smash them in 5 in the playoffs. They beat. I think they were undefeated against us in the regular season as well, and we just smashed them in the playoffs. And then they do it again with a different ownership with Kyrie, James Harden, and Kevin Durant. This is going to end up turning into, so for instance, without KD gone, okay, and we've seen what superstars go for when they're in desperate situations. They don't go for much. When the franchise is in a desperate situation, not the superstar. When they're on the clock, they don't go for much. I mean, the Rockets got what? At the end of the day, the Rockets got Victor Oladipo with a ruptured quad and Kelly Olynyk, I believe. That's all they got. So what you're looking at here is Ben Simmons, Spencer Dinwiddie, Nick Claxton, DFS, Dorian Finney-Smith, and Seth Curry being your best players. I mean, your franchise it's done for after that. Mostly when you build this team that you only got 16 games out of, which is weird to say out loud. And you can bring up if Kevin Durant's shoe was 2 inches smaller, dude. I hate that argument. It wasn't. What if Ray Allen stepped out of bounds? Oh, he didn't, did he? What if his foot was on the line? Oh my! What if his shoe was bigger, bro? Oh my God! Shut the fuck up. I don't care. I really don't. What if the? Do I have to keep going? I do. What if the clock person, the scoreboard operator, wasn't rigging it for the Lakers when Derek Fisher apparently hit a jump shot in 0.3 seconds? What if that didn't happen? Just saying, dude. We have a lot of what ifs in this world, don't we? But after this deal, you have to look at this as a complete failure, and the owner can be as petty as he wants. They ain't gonna bring you no chips, bro. If the Lakers had the same deal as the Mavericks and you're just being petty, I get it. But if they were given more, should have taken it. No reason to be petty in the situation, even though I respect the move. I would have done the same shit to Kyrie. But yeah, this Nets team is so bad now. And KD can ball. But now you're looking at a drastic shift in the East standings too. The Heat are the 6th seed. The Cavs are the 5 seed. And that could put right there the 76ers down to the 4 and the Cavs up to the 3, whatever happens. It's like a big shift in the playoffs now. And I do feel, for once, I feel bad for KD in his whole career. I feel bad for him. He's been surrounded by mega superstars his whole career, and finally he isn't. And we did see it in that Bucks series, obviously. And I think they destroy them if James Harden and Kyrie are healthy, if you want to be honest. I believe they're up 30 in game 1 or some shit when they were both healthy. Sometimes it don't work out your way, and KD's going to ask out. And if he gets traded by the end of the deadline, I would be very surprised. But he's definitely gone at the end of this season. And then we'll see how petty Joe Tsai can get, because he's going to have to sell that fucking franchise after 5 years of being a lottery team, trying to build off what they got. So that's my review of the Nets and the Dallas Mavericks trade. I think Dallas, there is no who won it. Like I said, there is no who won this trade, okay? It's pretty obvious. You got 2 top 10 players in the fucking world playing on the same team. Stop throwing Kyrie out of that conversation because he misses games and says some questionable shit off the court. All right. I'll take the dude with 3 eyes over the guy who tore his ACL and apparently is Michael Jordan, but hasn't been to a finals with Paul George. All right. Give me that guy. Sorry. He gets a weird bump. He gets a weird bump for beating the injured Warriors, man, and the quote-unquote LeBron stopper, right? When LeBron was averaging fucking 28 on his fucking head in the finals. I love Kawhi, though. I love Kawhi. I love his game. Just, he gets this Michael Jordan treatment. Anyways, that's my view. Thank you all for listening. Get back into the rest of the podcast. We're going to talk about All-Star snubs, and we're going to do, is James Harden underrated now? Question mark. Great tease right there for me. Let's get into it, man. All right, let's start with the All-Star snubs. So if you don't know, the East starters, Kyrie Irving, Donovan Mitchell, Kevin Durant, Jason Tatum, Giannis. The West starters are Steph, Luka, LeBron, Zion, Jokic. The reserves for the East are Bam Adebayo, Joel Embiid, Jaylen Brown, Julius Randle, DeMar DeRozan, Drew Holiday, and Tyrese Halliburton. Oh, buddy. The West reserves are Ja, Dame, SGA, Jaren Jackson Jr., God, Sabonis, Lauri Markkanen, and Paul George. You know, I don't get this. All right, so Zion's having an amazing year. Okay, so, you know, the snubs, let's just say that. James Harden, Anthony Davis, Devin Booker, De'Aaron Fox are like my biggest snubs. People are trying to make it about, you know, games played here. I don't get how you can do that. They're acting like AD's played 10 games. Anthony Davis was playing at an MVP level. All right. He's averaging 27 and 12 on 58% shooting, and he's been one of the best defensive players in basketball. All right. He's played 30 fucking games. Jaren Jackson's played 35. Do you, like, it's a 5-game difference. It's literally about when you get hurt. Jaren Jackson was hurt at the beginning of the season, so it's really not counted against him. AD misses like the last month or two, whatever it was, with his freakazoid injuries. I don't understand how he gets hurt, and he doesn't make the team, yet Zion is a starter, and he's only played 29 games. He's played as many games as Devin Booker, and when Devin Booker's active, the Suns are a real, Western Conference finalists in the discussion, and it's hard to say who really is the cream of the crop of that conference right now, even though the Nuggets and the Grizzlies have been dominant. The Clippers are coming up. Now you got that Kyrie trade. But either way, with Devin Booker, that team is, I think they were 18-11. That's what I said on my last podcast. They were 18-11 with him. Go look at their record without him. You know what I'm saying? And it may not be terrible, but it has to be below 500. I mean, they went on a bad losing streak, but then they won like 5 in a row. Anywho, and then on the East side, I don't hate this. All right, you know, people are worried about Joel not getting in. I can't, the markets and who they are. KD, Jason Tatum, and Giannis. I'm not saying Joel doesn't deserve to be a starter. I'm saying he ain't getting in over them. That's all I'm saying. KD's in New York. Even Kyrie got put in there. I don't know how Donovan Mitchell's a starter, but I don't hate it. I don't hate that at all, even though the one snub in the East is obviously James Harden. How the fuck does DeMar DeRozan make it over him? And I think DeMar DeRozan's amazing. I think his team is dog shit. This guy, James Harden, has been an essential piece in why this team is the 3 seed. I don't understand it. All right. Julius Randle's having a hell of a year. And you could say Jalen Brunson is a snub as well. I mean, De'Aaron Fox over here leading the best offense in basketball. His three-pointer isn't great. All right, he shoots like 30% from the three, but he's shooting 51% overall, 24, 6, and 4. Or 24, 4, and 6. Sorry, oops. And once again, I don't know how Jaren Jackson Jr. made it. I think that is horrible. My MVP, Lauri Markkanen, did make it. I don't know how Paul George made it, to be frank. I don't. I'm not disagreeing with it because it's Paul George. He's in LA. He's going to get those votes. But I don't know how he made it over a guy like Devin Booker or even De'Aaron Fox, when once again they are the 3 seed in the West. The one that I really hate is the AD one. And I know I'm like a LeBron stan or whatever, but how the fuck does Anthony Davis not make the All-Star team? And that's, I mean, I hadn't seen Zion play since what, December? You know, what I really came to talk about is James Harden. And I'm not a fan of James Harden. Don't ever get it twisted. I'm not. But you have to look at this shit realistically. All right? So I'm just going to give you a blind resume. Okay? Let's do a blind resume test, and we'll see what comes out of it. All right. Player A played 36 games. He averaged 24.6 points, about 9 rebounds, and 11 assists per game on 47% from the floor and 37% from 3. He was an MVP candidate. I mean, he was in the lead on NBA.com's NBA ladder for at least a month. All right. Player B has played 35 games. He's averaging 21, 6, and 11, 45% from the field, and 40% from 3, and doesn't make an all-star team even as a reserve. Player A is James Harden, and player B is James Harden. So what are we looking at here, right? When he was on the Nets, they were one of the top seeds in the East. He was an MVP candidate, and he only averaged 3 more points and 2 more rebounds. But now, since he's playing with Joel, who's averaging 30, his stats aren't crazy. He's kind of getting disrespected. I think this shows, and I said this a year ago, I said this is a new leaf that James Harden has turned in his career. Now, in my eyes, I was incorrect, and I said maybe he knows that he doesn't have the physical capabilities that he used to have, so he's turning into a point guard. I think it's a whole different situation. I think he realizes what he has around him, and he's playing team basketball and is one of the, if not the best passer in basketball. All right? He's one of the best point guards in basketball. You're talking about a dude who's probably going to make the all-pro or all-NBA team, third team or second team, and he won't make an all-star team. This is that weird voting thing, even though I don't really care about it. You know? Like, people talk about Jimmy Butler shouldn't have made the team because he played 30 games. Well, I have so many examples right here of why that really doesn't fucking matter, and it's hypocrisy in the voting. It's about how many games you play. Well, it's about your seeding. Well, Joel was a 3rd seed, and he's an MVP, top 3 MVP candidate, yet he isn't a starter. So it's not about that. And he's played a lot of games. But then you have a guy like Triple J who missed the first half of the season, but his team is good, so we got elevated to a reserve. It makes no sense. But this shit with James Harden has to stop. All right, now I'm one of the biggest James Harden haters on the planet, and now you don't hear the bad shit about James Harden, do you? You don't hear it. You don't hear it at all. Now, the James Harden supporters are like, see, that hammy got healthy. I didn't think it was that. And I'm not a fan of people who voluntarily don't play basketball like James Harden did. I hate that shit. I really do. I do. But what's happening with James Harden is he's not averaging 36 anymore. He has a legit counterpart other than CP, who was a legit number 2 to him. Don't get it twisted. But now he's got an MVP candidate as his number 2. And I think when they see the scoring decline, they think he's declining with that, and I don't see it the same. You got a guy shooting 45% and 40% from the three-point line, man. All right, so let's cut that shit out. Give that man his flowers because he is one of the greatest ISO scorers of all time. I think he's learned, like, yo, that really don't win you championships. And throughout history, that has never won championships. By the way, if you go look at the usage rate comparison to championships, usually the guys that are in that 36, 32% usage rate are Russell Westbrook. When he won the MVP, not really going to go far in the fucking playoffs with that. And that's just a fact. So shout out James Harden for becoming one of the best point guards in basketball, shifting his whole play style flawlessly into what is now winning basketball. I mean, that's all I had to say about James Harden. And saying that he didn't make the All-Star team when he's definitely going to make an All-NBA team. And if the media doesn't give him an All-NBA spot after hopefully no injuries happen, we know in that Philadelphia water, you don't know what can happen. But if they maintain what they got going right now, I don't see how you keep him off that list. And if you do keep him off that list, I think you are letting your personal opinions about somebody sway your voting, which has happened forever. I don't think that's right. Okay? I don't. And I'm taking a stand. I'm taking a stand against fucking voting. But yeah, that's all I really had to say. I don't really care about the NBA All-Star voting. I don't look at that as some... Even though JJ Redick said this is how people get into the Hall of Fame, I agree with him. But when you have... I mean, guys like Sabonis, I mean, no offense. That's not boosting his resume much, man. Like, it's not. When you have uber great players like KD, Kyrie, even a guy like Donovan Mitchell, like, those guys are going to be in the Hall of Fame regardless of their all-star status, right? In my opinion. But they're always going to make the all-star game. So, anywho, that's just my opinion on it. I'm going to come back with contenders or pretenders. Okay, with the contenders versus pretenders. Okay, so we really have to be objective here, and I'm going to do 5 teams per conference because there's teams like the Clippers who have had their 2 guys out for a lot of the season. Then you have got people like the Suns. Devin Booker's been out for I don't know how many games. They were 18-11. 11 and 15, so he's been out for like 25 games, 20 games, something like that. It's been a lot. And then you have the Mavericks, where I look and I go, well, they just added Kyrie, and they were missing Dorian Finney-Smith, Maxi Kleber, who are key components to that team, whether you respect them as basketball players or not. It's just a fact. So, because then I'm going to start talking about, like, yo, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in the playoffs. Like, I don't want to do this, okay? I'm not going to go through the whole fucking conference. Even though if you did, I would not, like, hate you for that. Look how tight it is. I mean, the difference between the 10-seed Pelicans and the 3-seed in the Kings is 3.5 games. Portland is 0.5 games behind that. The Lakers are 5.5 games out of the 3-seed. The Lakers. The fucking Lakers. So I just chose to talk about teams in the top 10 because one is in the top 10. Let's just get into it. The 10th seed, I think, is a contender. We're going to go with a contender first. New Orleans Pelicans. All right. You're asking how? How the fuck are they a contender? Well, I think when they're healthy, they're pretty fucking good. I would say that. They were atop of the West the whole time Zion was healthy, whole time Brandon Ingram was healthy, even though Brandon Ingram has missed 34 games. Zion has missed 25 games. They were the 8th best offense just with Zion healthy. Before he got hurt, they were the 8th best offense in the league. They have dipped to 18th. And I just think with that roster, we saw what they could do if they can get healthy. There's a lot of ifs there. That's why I'm swaying on pretender, contender. But I'm saying at full strength, that roster is a fucking really good roster. Herb Jones, Jonas Valanciunas, Jackson Hayes, Trey Murphy. I mean, you got a lot of depth. Obviously, C.J. McCollum, Brandon Ingram, and Zion Williamson. But those other young guys have proven themselves in this league to be really good players while Zion is out. They really have. So I do think the Pelicans are contenders if they can get it right. I just wanted to have one of those off the wall, like what? Why does he think that prediction in both of these categories? So then we're going to go to pretenders. I think the Warriors are pretenders. You go, huh? What'd you say? So for the last, 7 years, 8 years damn near, they've had problems with turnovers. They're second in the league, second to last in the league in turnovers, which is alarming when you're down there with teams like the Houston Rockets, Charlotte Hornets. Like they're tied with basically the Rockets. They got 0.4 less turnovers per game than the fucking Rockets do the Rockets. Okay, the Rockets. And you go, well, Steph Curry's missed games. They're 7-8 without him, 20-18 with him. And I think the main problem, to be honest with you, is Klay. I think Klay and Jordan Poole's inconsistency, Klay still shooting in the volume of prime Klay, yet coming up short. He's shooting 18 field goals a game and shooting 42% from the floor. Jordan Poole's over here shooting 32% from three on 8 shots a game, and they're mediocre in every category. 15th in offensive efficiency, 17th in defensive efficiency. We haven't seen a Warriors team like that. Yes, they're still one of the best three-point shooting teams in the league. And yes, they are a playoff franchise, but I don't have as much hope as most people do with that roster because their role players aren't as – I know they tighten up the rotation in the playoffs, but I think Klay with this big of a role just isn't him. They're missing Gary Payton II with his perimeter defense. That was their best perimeter defender last year, and I think people forget that. I think that little piece is huge, mostly in a system where you need all cogs to function like the Golden State Warriors. Steph Curry can go out here and bail you out some nights, but, what he has around him isn't really that much. And I didn't think they were the best team out of the West last year either. Jaws injury, just saying. Could totally see the Grizzlies in the finals last year versus the Celtics with ease. But yeah, a lot of inconsistencies from guys that they're relying on, which is never good. There's a lot of teams with that problem, but the Warriors are a big name that I just don't think are actual contenders. And the two contenders on the other side, it's obvious, right? The Grizzlies and the Nuggets. So with the Nuggets, you got a dude averaging a triple-double on 63% shooting and 38 from three. And what I've seen from the Nuggets, they're getting better because guess what? Jamal Murray's getting better. He's on a 5-game stretch of 32 points per game, over 50% shooting. He's here, And if you've watched him throughout the season, it's not like I'm watching 45 Denver Nuggets games because their own fans don't even watch them. But I try to watch every team to give a good take on them. Obviously, I'm not going to say I don't watch the Hornets because I watch a little too much Hornets basketball and Magic basketball because they come on first. They come on like 6:30, So, but if they're not worth watching, I'm not going to watch the Houston Rockets. I'm just not going to do it unless the Heat are playing them or if I want to see a matchup or have a bet that night on the Rockets. But with the Nuggets, as I've seen them progress through the season, obviously this is a down year, quote unquote, for Jokic's points per game. He's closer to 27 to 30. He's at 24, 25 right now. But I just think it's because they lead the league in three-point percentage, lead the league in offensive efficiency. I just think his team's on a burner right now shooting the ball, so he really doesn't have to do as much as he used to scoring-wise. All right, there's a reason he's averaging a triple-double this year. These motherfuckers are hitting a lot of threes. They're shooting almost 40% on the season. They basically are shooting 40% on the season. You're talking about last year's Clippers numbers or the year before that, whichever one it was, where the team shot 42%, right? And like I said, when you have a guy like Jokic, you can't not be in that category, I would say. But, and what I mean by that isn't just a top-level player. I'm talking about an offensive juggernaut. An offensive juggernaut that controls the game in every facet on offense. But the problems that they will encounter in the playoffs is like what we saw in the Warrior series, where we're going to screen until Jokic is up on the point guard or in a mismatch, and then you get a heave three or drive past them, get a rebound with Draymond over like now Bruce Brown or Bones Highland, whoever was down there, and you just reset and keep heaving threes, and that's what I saw. You know what I mean? And Jamal Murray not playing didn't help. The Grizzlies are a contender, even though they've looked a little broken. Right, they go on a 5-game losing streak. I witnessed it because I love to watch Ja play. And with Ja, now you've seen this turn where he's, 4 or 5 games in a row getting double-digit assists, which really wasn't Ja's bag the previous years. And 12 to 15 assists, like seeing the floor better than he ever has. And I think that's a scary proposition for people in the West, mostly with how electrifying he is at just scoring the ball and just playing basketball in general. They are 19th in offensive efficiency, but I went and looked, and I was like, well, Desmond Bane's missed some time. And I went and looked at this dude's numbers to start out the year, right? The first 15 to 20 games, this dude was averaging 25 points per game on 50% shooting. And at that point, and yes, it's only the first 20 games, and I know that can shift, but with a guy like Desmond Bane, who is their number 2 guy on offense, that's a huge deal. And with missing Jaren Jackson Jr. at the beginning of the year, it's a huge deal. Now with Steven Adams missing games, who is really the centerpiece of that defense, I know you're thinking Jaren Jackson is, and I know he's up for a Defensive Player of the Year candidate, but there's a reason Jaren Jackson can just go flying at people because Steven Adams is right there. There's a reason. Yeah, they were 6th in offensive efficiency before Desmond Bane got hurt, and now the next month when he came back, he missed the whole month of the season. The next month when he came back, he went from averaging 25 a game to 14 a game, and that's minutes and all that, but he's starting to get it back now, but for that month stretch, he really didn't look too good. So I think their numbers are deceiving, just like the Pelicans. Okay. And the last team I'm going to talk about as a pretender is going to be the Sacramento Kings. I mean, they're 20th in offense, and that was my point with the Kyrie and Luka thing. Or 20th in defense. Sorry, they're the number 1 offense in basketball. Let's not get it twisted, all right? Let's not get it twisted. With their roster, and it's hard to say. You could see a dip off in the second part of the season, too. I think they've been relatively healthy. I think they play hard every night with their, exuberance of being good now. Does that make sense? Like when you go from being what the kids say, a poverty franchise for the last 20 years to a 3 seed, I think that shows some excitement in that locker room. And now the Sabonis and De'Aaron Fox experiment is working out pretty damn well. They have some good depth to their roster, but I just don't see this roster, making a long push in the playoffs. I don't see a De'Aaron Fox, Sabonis-led team making a push in the playoffs. I think they're a first-round and out team. I mean, if they face the Mavericks, like right now as it stands, they face the Mavericks. I think Luka and Kyrie get them the fuck out of there in 6. I really do. Even though I don't know who the fuck's going to guard De'Aaron Fox. I just think their offense, just like little nuances, like how the offense is backwards because their best players are left-handed. I think that's a nuance to the game that when the playoffs start, people are going to make the adjustment. And this is why the NBA is so interesting, because as we go down this last 30-game stretch is where you see the adjustments to people, right? Just like when you saw Giannis play the Heat the other night, they don't build that wall against them in the regular season. He goes off for a 30-point triple-double, shooting 70%, whatever it was. If we see him in the playoffs, there's going to be 4 people waiting for him, and we're going to make him a passer or drawing a charge. That's what's just going to happen. Make him shoot circus shots, or he's going to have to kick it out, and he's not going to beat us. Those small, tiny adjustments that coaches don't make for the first 50, 60 games of the season, they start pulling it out against these people just in case they see them in the playoffs and see what's going to work later in the season. And that's why you'll see probably some fluctuation in these records as you get down the line of the back end of this season. You see a lot of shifting, and you'll start seeing people, they'll go on a 5-game losing streak, and then they'll finally give up on the season around game 65, 60. But with how tight the West is, you kind of have to wait that late to give up. So, but yeah, that's a real quick segment on contenders, pretenders of the West. I wanted to make it really short and sweet, just get some thoughts out. I was just thinking about the Pelicans and how dominant they really were at the beginning of the season. I thought they were very impressive with that roster fully healthy, and you can disagree on that. It doesn't fucking hurt my feelings. It doesn't hurt my feelings. So we're going to go on to the East. Let's get it. All right. Sorry that last segment was kind of low energy. I've been recording all day, and I just haven't eaten anything. I got the lean cuisine in me, and I'm ready to go on the Eastern Conference. Now, in this one, I really just have 4 contenders and 1 pretender. Let's go to the pretender first. I want to get a rant in. Like I said, it's actually a part of this, the Heat. And I know that for some people outside of the fan base, it's like, why are the Heat? Why would you even put it? Nobody thinks the Heat are a contender. Well, yeah, I mean, people didn't think we were a contender when we were the 1 seed, Eastern Conference Finals. People didn't think we were a contender the previous season, got blown out. And then the season before that, we went to the finals. Still didn't think we were legit. And that's just kind of the overwhelming feel on the Heat. And I'm not going to sit here and rant too hard on the Heat. I'm just going to go smoothly through it like I did all the other teams. So, and I have 4 contenders for the East as well. With the Heat, there's a lot of problems. All right, I don't even need to look at the stat sheet. There's just some. We're 27th in three-point percentage. We were last until like 2 weeks ago, and we're 8th in attempts. This is a team that relies on the 3 ball but can't hit it, which is bad. Somehow we have a winning record. Thinking about that just makes 0 sense, being that low in this generation of basketball and still having an above a 500 record out of the play-in tournament. I don't know how it's possible, but we're still in that 6th spot, and we're only, 3.5 games behind the Cavs for the 5, and only 4 games behind the Nets for the 4. And I see them declining pretty quickly unless KD just pops up and magically starts playing every single game. But there's just a lot of problems with the roster. There's certain things that I don't understand. Tyler Hero can't shoot a 3 to save his damn life anymore, but he's still averaging 20, still putting his numbers up. I could do without him and Jimmy combining for 50 shots against the Bucks. The offensive growth of Bam Adebayo makes me think we're a tough out in the playoffs, but unless some moves are made, right? Everybody's talking about the 4 spot. Caleb Martin hasn't been bad at all. He's been better than PJ Tucker ever was. 1. Maybe defensively, once again, he lacks the girth, of a PJ Tucker to stop the bigger guys. But overall, this roster is just tiny. It's not just that 4 spot. And 2, why are we not talking about the 3-point shooting? Do we just think that's we'll hit them eventually? We're 50 games in, and we're still terrible at shooting the 3. Mostly a guy like Max Strus, who is shooting 38% on 10 shots a game from 3, has declined after averaging 15 points for 2 months. Average 15 points. That's a lot of games, 20 games basically, to now averaging 12 points, even less than that if you go month by month, and shooting sub 35% from 3 on 7 attempts per game. So, and then you see useless players out there. Why are we playing Kyle Lowry for 3 quarters and then he sits the whole 3rd or the whole 4th quarter? I don't understand it, and it's because we need bodies. We don't have a lot of good bodies on our roster, man. I don't mean it like that. Whoa, hey. But no, and then Dedmon comes in against the Bucks, and I'm just like, why is he out there? He's useless. He plays horse with his last name. He plays Dedmon, and every foul counts as a letter, and he always wins. Always spells his last name. 10 minutes played. The plus-minus between Bam and Dwayne Dedmon on the season, Bam is a plus 134. Dwayne Dedmon, who has missed multiple games since he threw a massage gun on the floor, is a minus 120, minus 130. So he's just negating everything Bam does. And some of these lineups you see rolled out there for the Heat are just absolutely preposterous. But yeah, I just think there's a lot more problems on this Heat team than, we need a 4 and we need some shooting. I think overall you can't have 10 undrafted players when your roster holds 15 and you only have 14 people on the roster. What are we talking about? You know what I mean? And you can blame it on missed games. I've gone through this. Steph Curry's missed as many games as Jimmy Butler. Tyrese Maxey, James Harden have missed probably more games than Jimmy Butler, if not as many. So I'm done arguing that point. All right? I'm done arguing it. But we do have Jimmy Butler, and he will play in the playoffs, and Jimmy Butler does what Jimmy Butler does in the playoffs, but that team is not a contending team for now, and I think it would take a whole roster reconstruction for that team to be a contender. All right. And if you thought we were trading for the Heat or the Kyrie, you're a fucking idiot. That was a long time on the Heat. I apologize. Just looked at the clock. Anyways, to the contender side, we have 4 contenders here. And really, I don't have a lot of really deep diving stats on these guys. I basically know the East very well because I watch a lot of East basketball to know my competition. The first one I think is surprising to people, but not to me, is the Cavs. I know they're a 5 seed. They're going to be up in that 4-3 spot. You know, they're what? 3 games behind the Sixers. That could change. But I think people don't see what I see with this team. I think people think their offense is broken, and that is possibly true because they run so many big lineups at you out there, like a front court of Mobley and Jared Allen when Mobley's shooting like 20% from the three-point line. I was told he could shoot. I was told this man could hit a 3 when he needed to. Haven't seen it. But I will say they're a way more talented Heat team, and I'm not trying to just compare everything to the Heat. There is just levels to it, right? Like, they are a defensive lockdown team. They're not overly impressive on offense, but they're still top 10 in offensive efficiency. I think they have 2 guards, and who would have thought Donovan Mitchell was having the best year of his career, points per game-wise, efficiency-wise from the floor. He's on 27 for 47 from the field, 40 from 3. Darius Garland's averaging 22 and 8, 46 from the floor, 41 from 3. Who would have thought if you pair up Donovan Mitchell with an elite guard instead of fucking the big tower of shit down there, you could actually get some production out of him. And I'm not saying he hasn't produced. I'm saying he's obviously more successful here. And I know the playoff results are going to show what success is because the Jazz had a lot of regular season success as well. I just don't think he had this much talent around him. Like, Evan Mobley is a monster. And defensively, they are a defensive juggernaut outside of Darius Garland, who they hide pretty fucking well, if you ask me. They hide him pretty well. I love the Cavs roster. I don't think they're uber deep, but like I said, in the playoffs, you're not playing your 9th man off the bench unless someone's in foul trouble. You're going 7-8 deep and calling it quits when it comes down to the nitty-gritty. All right, so the next team, obviously the 1 seed, the Celtics. Only team in the league top 5 in offensive and defensive efficiency. The 76ers are 6th in both categories, so it's not like, you know, there's nobody close to doing that. It's just a fun fact because that's what I really look at when I look at who's the real contenders, who can, you know, win the title, is that stat in particular. This is without having Gallo. This is with Marcus Smart missing some games recently. Robert Williams missing a lot of games at the beginning of the season. So these guys they were off to a super hot start. They've slowed down a little bit, but you know, every single night you're getting 30 from Tatum and 25 from Jaylen Brown. And then they have stretches, like 3 or 4 game stretches out of a 10 game span where they're unconscious. Like, I know if you were watching on national television that Brooklyn Nets game, it seems like something you've never seen before. I tell you what, I've seen a lot of Celtics games that start off that way. Truly. Malcolm Brogdon, Derek White hitting threes, Marcus Smart hitting threes, Tatum's cooking, and Grant Williams has become, and he was last year, I'm just saying, has become a reliable 3-point shooter, like 40% guaranteed. When we saw him against the Bucks and it seemed like a fluke, he hit like 9 threes in a game or some shit, and you thought it was flukish, but then he comes in this year and he's still making that shit. And I dislike Grant Williams. I paid him since he played at Tennessee. I'm an Arkansas fan, so I obviously don't know a lot about good sports. Bucks fan, Buccaneers fan, Miami Heat fan, and a fucking Arkansas Razorback fan. So I don't even know why you're listening to me, but I'm here. I'm here to participate in the podcast game. I'll tell you what. But yeah, the Celtics are they were there last year. It's pretty easy. I still think, I hate to say it, my fall-off prediction was wrong. That's not what I'm saying. Obviously, that was wrong. But I do think they are still questionable when when your asshole gets tight. I'm just saying. I think in clutch games, they have a hard time closing it out. I think they get a little shaky. That's all I'm going to say. I still don't believe in them when it comes to close games. Every time I watch them play, they're up by 18 in the third quarter, and it's over most of the time. I've rarely seen them have close games other than like the Magic this year. I'm not even kidding. And obviously they've lost games. It's just the ones that I have been personally watching. So yeah, the Celtics are obviously a contender number 1 seed. Third on the list is the 76ers. You got a trio of players that's giving you 70-plus points a night with Maxey, James Harden, Joel Embiid, and then you just sprinkle some Tobias. If Tobias doesn't have to score 20, if he is efficient, that team is almost impossible to beat. Because Joel Embiid is in a zone where he's walking to, 30 and 12. It's not even, it's like slight work. It's expected. By the third quarter, he has like 24 and 10, 27 and 11. And then he goes into the fourth if they're up or whatever. And then just, sprinkles the shit on top of it. And there he is with an MVP candidacy just sitting there at 33 and 14, whatever he's averaging this year. Yeah, just overall, this team with D'Anthony Melton in there, I don't think Tyrese Maxey just gets absolutely cooked on defense. I don't think James Harden does either. And with Joel Embiid down there, it really don't matter. And I think when you have rim protectors, it makes it seem like these guys can't play defense. For instance, right, during the Magic days, it was okay for Hedo Turkoglu to be on the floor because Dwight Howard was back there. It's okay for you to be more aggressive on defense, jump passing lanes, play tighter on your guy when you know Joel Embiid's back there, when you know Dwight Howard's back there, any of these elite shot blockers in the league, Robin Lopez, Brooke Lopez is back there. You don't really have to worry about being so perfect on defense, and I think that helps a lot, and you can see that with being sixth in the defensive efficiency, that is just proven to be true. And I don't even think they have like all these great individual defenders, and I think that shows the greatness of Joel Embiid. I really do. Like, name an incredible defender that's on the floor other than D'Anthony Melton. You can't. Tyrese is undersized for his position. Tobias Harris, like, some nights he can guard somebody in the post, but I feel like he gets cooked more often than not. Even when he plays good defense, he's getting cooked. James Harden, it just depends on the night if he's fucking even trying on defense. You got Matisse Thybulle, but how many minutes is he getting a night? You got Paul Reed, Montrezl Harrell. Like, what the fuck are we talking about? George Niang? I don't think so, man. That team should not be an elite defensive team, but they are because of the greatness of Joel Embiid, which is being an elite defensive center, yet not getting into foul trouble, a la Triple J, Jaren Jackson Jr., or even a guy like Jared Allen who doesn't get in foul trouble. He's an elite rim protector as well. So that just shows how great Joel Embiid is. And I think this roster is really good. And they're one of the best three-point shooting teams in the league, number 3 in percentage. And I don't care about how many you shoot because in today's NBA, you're getting a shit ton up anyways. I think it's about how efficient you are. They're 16th in attempts, middle of the pack, but they're 3rd in percentage. That's totally fine. To me, that evens out to top 10. A top 10 three-point team. You get what I'm saying? Because, like I said, in this new era of basketball, you're getting 27 to 30 attempts up every single night, no matter what. No matter what. I think they're amazing. I think the 76ers are really good, and they're finally meshing, and that's why you can't judge a duo or a team when you add such a prolific offensive presence, not just score or anything like that, like James Harden. When you add a prolific offensive presence like that gets a lot more respect from the defense than Ben Simmons does, and just like the Kyrie situation with the Mavs, I would say don't rate the Kyrie situation with the Mavs after these, 20-some-odd games that they have together. I wouldn't rate it based on that, because I promise it's going to get better next year. Obviously, to end it, the Bucks. All right, to me, it's hard for me. I don't know why, but it's just hard for me to say that people can beat the Bucks, basically Giannis, in a 7-game series. Beating him 4 times in 2 weeks just seems impossible. It seems impossible. He goes off 2 50-pointers in a row, 30-point triple-double versus the Heat, and they didn't miss a step with him out, with Brook out, with Chris Middleton missing games. They looked broken for a second without Giannis, and then he comes back in, and they're right back to where they were. You're trying to get Joe Ingles into the rotation. Bobby Portis, I think I said his name. Bobby Portis was hurt too. Like, they've had a revolving door of people playing this season, and they're still only, a game out? Yeah, a game out of the 1 seed. And I think that is the example this year of, like, shut the fuck up about injuries. Like, Bobby Portis could win the 6th Man of the Year award this year, and he's out for a while, and I bet they're going to be just fine. I don't think they really give a shit, and they're going to be totally fine, and when he comes back, they're going to be better because those other guys get minutes and get involved. And with a good coach like Bud, sometimes injuries, not season-ending, but injuries like Chris Middleton's injury where he's working his way back are kind of blessings in disguise. He's still on a minute restriction. I think it's 20 minutes. He played 20 minutes against the Heat. Guys like Grayson Allen, Drew Holiday showing up on offense. And I hate to tell y'all, Drew Holiday on most nights what I've seen in the past. I don't want to speak too, bluntly about it. He hasn't been that great of an offensive player. I just see nights where he's like 5 of 17 too many times to make me go like, damn, he's hooping. And then when I say it on Twitter, Drew Holiday's ass on offense, just to be funny, he goes off and gets player of the week, averaging 33 for a week on like 60% shooting. Whatever. Just go against my take, Drew. I think they see it. They heard me talking, bro. But yeah, it's very odd to see Milwaukee too, because when you watch them play, they seem like they got a really good offense. They're 21st in offensive efficiency. That was like alarming to me. But when I watched it, to me, that shows something different. And I hope I had the dates right, because I was editing like when I was seeing Zion go out and shit. So hopefully I had the dates right. But what I saw today was that they were 21st in offensive efficiency. They're 3rd in defensive efficiency. They're always going to be elite on defense, just with Giannis out there in general. But then the supporting cast with fucking, like when Chris Middleton gets healthy, he's a great defender. If Chris Middleton is he's probably 4th best defender on their team behind Drew, Brook, and Giannis. You know how fucking crazy that is, man? That's hard to score on with all that length. To me, the 21st in offensive efficiency, though, that just shows, like, how much better can they get? Let me look up that number real quick to make sure it's right. Give me 2 seconds. All right, well, I was right. So, I'm just saying, I was right, okay? And they're just, dude, just go watch them play. And then Giannis is now in this mode. Why do I sound like I'm about to cry? Giannis is in this mode where every night he does this shit and we just don't appreciate it. I think he's been in that mode for 2 years now. If you watch him play on a nightly basis, it is something special. I'll just say that. It is something fucking special that we're watching. And I don't know if it's even close for the best player in the world. You can make your debate for your player, your Joel Embiid or your LeBron or your, fucking whoever, Jokic. I don't give a fuck. There's nobody better than that guy playing in the world right now. And that's just my opinion. He's on a fucking burner right now. Last 6 games, he's averaging like 42 and 16. On 60% shooting, 39 from 3. I don't care how many attempts. I don't care. That's his stats. That's fucking incredible. So, and like I always say, at the end of this season, these last 27, 30 games, whatever you want to say, watch out for the great players because they're fucking coming. I'll tell you that. This is where they turn it up. They get more minutes. They're trying to get playoff seeding. They're trying to turn up for the playoff run after All-Star break. And I would just say watch all the great players you can because they're about to start fucking spazzing. And you'll see a lot more defense probably after the All-Star break. So thank y'all for listening, man. I know I was a little low on energy at the end of the pod. I've been recording for like 6 hours, I think 4 hours, something like that. So I'm just doing what I can. But I love you all for listening. Subscribe, like, comment, all that shit. Heat and Bucks videos are separate, and it is what it is. I love you all. Thank you for listening. The Pod Goat is out. Deuce!